Oh, it's bad. It's real bad. But you know what? We can fix it, and so can you.
Autocrafters, your source for Falcon, Fairlane, full-size, Mustang, Maverick, Pinto, Ford truck, Cougar. Contact us at www.autocrafters.com.
This week, it's because of you. Thanks guys for writing in last week and letting us know that you absolutely wanted to see the hood alignment and also front end alignment of sheet metal on a 69 Fairlane. This will apply to your 68 Fairlanes as well and probably even jump all the way back into the 66, 67s. So leave more comments in the section below. Let us know what you guys want to see on the show. I appreciate all of our viewers. I'm glad you guys motor in here every week. Anything that we get for parts, when we put the link down here below me, it's also down in the description so you can go out and get the parts directly from the advertiser that we're working with on that. Also, real quickly, check out our Patreon account. Go take a look at it. We have monthly meetings on Zoom. They're a lot of fun. Now, I'm going to have to stop talking and, sadly, start working. All right, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the hood aligned. One thing I will tell you on these cars before we get to the hood alignment is that the cowl on these, this plate right here is not attached to the body on a Fairlane. If you have one, you know this already. This piece can be removed because there's screws that run out all the way across it. It is not like a 60s Mustang or a Cougar. This is movable, and if it's movable, it means it can be problems for you being able to get a really good adjustment out of this. I mean, I could probably go in and actually work this piece as opposed to the fender to get these two to line up and play nicely with each other. So keep that in your mind when you're doing an alignment on the hood. The hood is probably the most mobile thing you have on the car because you have up and down, side to side, and fore and aft adjustments on it. So now, without further ado, I'm going to go in and start mucking about with the hood. All right, so what am I going to do here? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check and make sure I'm kind of lined up by eyeballing it down the line here. And I look pretty good on my cowl. And like I said, on a Fairlane, that can't always be a reliable arbiter of how this thing is going to sit and fit. My cowl, if I look at the holes for the wiper arms on it, the wiper arms are pretty much centered in the holes. It might indeed be a little bit one way or the other, but I think we're okay, so I'm going to leave it alone. Now, one thing that we didn't do last week is we did not tighten down the bolts in the top of the hood. You want to get those tight before you set the hood down into its correct position, because you can then, when those are set, go in and loosen the bolts on the hood and push the hood back to get a good cowl set with the hood closed. Remove your latch, it'll make things a lot easier. Make sure your hood bumpers are sitting where they need to sit, and then you should be good to go for the rest of it. Don't want to lift it up too much if you're trying to tighten those bolts up. Get those done. For these back ones, when you're low like this, your best bet is to have a ratcheting wrench. It'll just make things a lot faster. All right, now, why do I want these bolts tight like I want them? And the reason for that is simple. If these bolts are loose, your hood is going to sit up at the back, so you don't want them loose. You want them as tight as you're going to put them for final on the car. You can hear that one getting crunchy, so that tells you it wasn't tight. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab my deep well socket and use it to loosen this up. And I want to loosen it up just enough that it's mobile and not so loose that it's not going to work for me when I try to drop this hood. So what I want is I want a little bit of tension on these bolts. Okay, I went too far. Sometimes these things happen. So that means I'm gonna have to open the hood up and not hit it quite as hard. There's a bigger gap back here right now than I want, but I knew that going in. But we are now below grade of the fender. I'm not using my cowl as a grade because it's a little off. It's actually sitting low in this corner. Let me see if I can just pick it up from the back. I got some room in there. I'm just lightly going in and working that edge. Yeah, it's about where it needs to be though. So I'm going to try open it up very slowly and softly. And I'm going to go in and tighten those bolts up and then try closing it again. You'll probably want to have an extension on this to get out beyond the shock tower a little bit when you're tightening these back up. That one would need to be opened up a little more. But if I go to the back one here, I can't see it, but I can feel it. All right, now I'm going to go to the other side, do the exact same thing over there, and then I'll see where I'm at with my set on the hood. All right, I've got the back one loose, so the front one's tight, back one's loose. Now what I'll do is I'm going to shut the hood. And you can see it's way up in the air. On the Fairlane, it looks to me like they really want the hood hinge front bolt to be in about the mid position. Now what you can do is you can slap the hood down, pick it up, and then drop it again to see where it's at. Now the hood hinge isn't moving really yet. And I want it a little bit below grade now, so that when I pick the hood up again and drop it again, it's just about in ride position. Now I can also do this with this broom handle method as well, or an assistant holding the hood up, and you're going to go back and forth 3 or 4 different times, because like I said, if I pull this hood up again, and you can see that the hood's actually arching out. I'm going to try and set this because honestly that back bolt is really what sets your position on your hood when it sits in the rest spot. I am not messing with that. Okay, so if you look at this hood, even if I pressure the front so that it's sitting normally, this corner of the hood is down at the back. And I don't really think that this is a problem with the hood hinge. I really think if you look at it, this corner right here is diving off. Now, what do you do to fix that? Because that is a real issue you can deal with on some of these older cars. Now, one of the things that I have always done is to use a block of wood like this to pressure corners up that are like that one. Now, I'm going to see if I can get this to go in here, because I don't want to get on the rocker or on the cowl panel back there. And see if that made a difference. Just a little bit of pressure sometimes can change the world on these things. Now the other thing I'm going to worry about at this point is getting this back line straight, because I'm going to have to go in, take the 2 bolts on either side loose, and now I'll push the hood toward the back. But before I do that, and that's really something that you don't need my help with, I'm going to look at this and see if our cowl is centered up. And in fact, it looks like to me, if the holes on here are where they need to be, it is in fact not really centered. It's off a little bit this way. And that would cause you to read the hood wrong. This is a problem on the Fairlanes. I'm not sure even what Ford would have done with this. honestly, looking at some of the cars I've seen, I don't think they worry too much about it. So, aligning the cowl. Well, guess what? It's really actually fairly straightforward and simple. What you'll want to do is to take these and make sure that the mounting post for your wiper arms is dead center. You know, side to side, you want to make sure you have the exact same space on this side as you have on this side. If you don't, then you're not centered. It's just really that simple. And you also want to make sure that your cowl is pushed as far back up in here as you can possibly get it. And then what you'll start working on is aligning your hood across the back edge. All right, because I've got my hood basically set up the way I want it to be and it's at the depth I want it at, the next adjustment would be the cowl, and you can see that we're actually low on our cowl. Believe it or not, that's probably the most simple adjustment you're going to have on one of these old Fords. I'm going to pop the hood up here so you can see what I'm talking about. They are, and look how nice those hood hinges open. I'm just saying, I'm really happy about it. We are obviously way too wide in our gap back here, but in order to make an adjustment on this and get it to where you want it to be depth-wise, you're just going to take this and bend it down to the depth that it needs to be sitting at, and the center will kind of fall in play. You can see that this gap is entirely too wide. This gap is even worse. You can't see it from over there, but I'm telling you right now, that gap right there, that's you can almost see the Cleveland with that gap. All right, that's it, folks. Treat each other nice, love on each other. Lord knows there's enough bad in the world that we don't need to be putting it around inside of our little community here. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you on down the road. I really want to do it now, but I have holiday type things that the wife's making me do. Well, not making me, I'm actually an active participant. House decorating 101. Hey, maybe we should do a video on that.